Okay, let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's go. Hey there, and welcome to Takeout and Talk, a new series from Cocina and Mecenas Media where culture's always on the menu, even if it arrives in a paper box. I'm Jorge Olivares, and I'm so excited for our inaugural guest today, Suzy Exposito, which I'm sure you've had a chance to read her over the past few years. She's an award-winning Cuban and Belizean journalist who is now an editor for Telos. That is the Latin arm of the Los Angeles Times. She's been at the Times since 2020. Before then, she ran the Latin music section for Rolling Stone, which is a pretty big deal. But an even bigger deal is that she was the first Latina to ever write a cover story for Rolling Stone. And her subject? Bad Bunny. She's had a chance to talk to Bad Bunny multiple times over the years, most recently this summer for ID. Now, this came before he hosted Saturday Night Live and was announced as next year's Super Bowl headliner, which, as I'm sure you've seen, multiple people have had opinions about that, from fans, non-fans alike. We'll talk about that with Suzy, who also got a chance to see his sold-out live residency in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So aside from all things Benito, I do want to talk to Suzy about the state of music criticism. There have been some perfect reviews out there on people's work, and it's got the internet speculating about whether this is genuine feedback on the part of journalists, or are folks just a little scared of cancellation from fandoms? So, a lot to feast on today. Excited to welcome Suzy and lunch now. Well, Suzy, I'm glad that we finally have had a chance to do this because this is going to sound weird. I've been chasing you for several years because you're pretty much you are at the top of your game. And I think as a Latino in this media industry, I just admire everything that you've done. And I'm so excited to talk this through and to share with our audience about everything you've had a chance to do. So thank you for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Jorge.
Yes, and I love that we're doing this, even though we're thousands of miles away from each other. Well, maybe just a few hundred miles away. But all that being said, we're doing this over a meal. So, can you share with our audience what you are eating with me today?
Okay, so I ordered from one of my favorite restaurants in LA. It's called Dune. I ordered a hummus and egg plate. Um, I'm really into Mediterranean and Middle Eastern food. Um, I chose this meal because I am lactose intolerant. And what that means is I have to avoid secret dairy, like the Matrix. Like often when I order
Just like,
out, I'm like dodging the dairy because it will mess me up. Like that's a whole day.
I
that I
feel
have.
that's so hard.
So I'm really trying to eat less dairy. I do take lactate pills from time to time, like if I can't help it, especially if I'm traveling, I just bring the lactate because dairy is literally in everything, especially in the States. It's like really hard to avoid dairy. So I wanted to pick something that was delicious and also safe for me.
Okay. No, if hashtags were still a thing, I would start officially for this show hashtag dodging the dairy because it really does affect a lot of us. I feel like I have not come to fully accept that it affects me. I'm still holding out, but we'll see because I don't think there's any dairy in my meal. So I ordered from a place called Senor Sisig, which is here in San Francisco. It started out, I believe, as a food truck,
Mm,
and it is like a Filipino Latin fusion cuisine. So I got a rice bowl that has pickled veggies, it's got pork,
mm.
and it is kind of one of those things where you feel like you're indulging.
Yeah,
I think it's healthy. I'm assuming it's healthy, but
veggies.
veggies, right? The pickled veggies will help and it'll make me feel better.
Yeah.
Um, I have to, and this is going to be my way of transitioning us to talking about not only the work that you've done, but the subject that you've had a chance to talk to over the past several years, which is Bad Bunny.
Mhm.
Um, but did you see that viral video of Bad Bunny when he was like hopping around at one of his concerts and pobrecito, like his knee gave out? It's like,
And he like hobbled away.
yes, it's like, dude, you are too young for any of this to be happening. This is not the show that you were present at, right? Because you did get a chance to go to one of his shows in Puerto Rico. What was that like?
Yeah, I went on, opening weekends, which was locals only, but I was invited, so
You were an honorary
disclaimer
local.
disclaimer, I am not Boricua, but I do love the Boricuas. I am Cuban and Belizean. And I went to San Juan during the opening weekend, and I interviewed him right after that. Um, and it was just, like, sensational. It was, like, there were so many just people across generations, like, partying, going wild, like, families together, enjoying the concert. Joel Randy showed up. It was one hell of a family party, you know? It was like, what would we I don't know, it was just like a massive arena-sized kickback, you know?
Ooh, I like that description. I do want to note that as you mentioned, you are not Puerto Rican, but
Yeah,
there's been a lot of mistaking you for Puerto Rican because of the fact that you've had quite a bit of access to Bad Bunny, probably more so than any other music journalist, especially of your background.
yes.
Uh, so maybe talk a little bit about just the first time they were like, "Hi, Susie, you know this guy named Bad Bunny? You're gonna profile him." Like just
It
the
wasn't like that, by the way. It wasn't like
Well,
that at all.
what was it like?
It was me going, "Knock, knock. Hi. We gotta cover this guy. We needed him on the cover. Like, he's gonna blow up." And it was a lot of, I don't know. What is with that name? Who is this guy? I don't know. Is he like a does he rap? Like, is that his thing? Whatever. We're gonna put Harry Styles on the cover for like the third time. So whatever. I was in those meetings at Rolling Stone and being like, "Again? Like, him again?" You know, so they know I've talked a lot of smack, but, and I love them a lot. I still love, you know, the people I worked with at Rolling Stone, but it was getting kinda comical after a while. So no one was like, "Hey, would you like to profile Bad Bunny?" No, I was, like, banging down the door. I kicked down the door to make that happen.
Which I
And
feel like is it seems to be the case for a lot of the work that you do, where you are like you're trailblazing it for a lot of not only Latina music journalists, but people who are in this field just trying to not only get your voice, but the voice of our community out there. Like
yeah,
the fact that you had to, because in 2020, or even the little bit before 2020, when the cover story for Rolling Stone came out, he was already a massive artist for the Latino community
yeah.
and specifically in the reggaeton world. So that you had to kind of coerce people to get you to talk to him is is very strange to me, but I understand in the media landscape why that was hard.
I think people really, really underestimate how difficult it, has been to give Latin music, fair coverage in English language media. And I have been doing this professionally since 2012. That's when I started writing about music professionally as a freelancer. You know, my first full-time job was at MTV. And then from there, I went to Rolling Stone. I started out reviewing albums at Rolling Stone and then working my way up to an editorial role or a role as an editor, um, and founding the Latin music section. But it came with like a lot of, there were still like lots of barriers and people underestimated. I've been in so many of these board meetings and over again, you know, I would pitch and I would pitch and I would pitch. And I think the most consistent question I would be asked is like, who is going to read about them? Um,
Mhm.
which implies something more sinister. Like, do
Like,
Latinos even read in
can
English?
you
Like, actually,
promise me that someone's actually going to tune in here? I feel like something that, and this might be a running theme with the conversations I have on this show about
Mhm.
the beauty and the burden of being the one in the conference room, where
Mhm.
like you're the only Latino, you're the only Latina, you're the only insert a particular characteristic of yourself. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful because at least your perspective is there, but then the burden is like you have to advocate for whatever you identify with as why something should be done or covered.
Yeah.
This was your fourth time, or fourth or fifth time for
My 4th
ID.
story. Yeah, my 4th
Nice.
profile with him. Um, and yeah, the first time was funny. It was really funny. It was, like, backstage at the Latin Grammys, and he was really weird. He was rehearsing and making, like, funny Celine Dion impressions on the stage, um, and wearing, like, bunny ears. Or no, he was wearing mouse ears, I think. So, like,
Okay, that's still kind of adorable. Like what you would hope Bad Bunny, like the sense of humor he has.
adorkable, if you will. He's
Adorkable. But how would you
really weird.
describe? Okay, so the adorkable Bad Bunny that you first meet at the Latin Grammys,
Yeah,
how would you describe his aura now? Like you talk a little bit about he's playing dominoes with members of his team when you went to go interview him in Puerto Rico.
yeah.
Does he still have that adorkable aura to him? Is it different?
He's still, like, a little bit dorky, like, a little bit, but he's way more confident, like, um he was talking about how he, like, really missed, like, certain kinds of foods and stuff, and he was like I at some point, I think, his Calvin Klein billboard came up. That was when I interviewed him this summer, and he was like, "Ugh, the things I had to do to create that body," and he's just like, "Ugh, I miss my food,"
Aw.
But, he's still, like, a little silly, but he's, like, a lot more confident, than he was when I first met him. Something that was also funny is that when we both met for the first time in 2018, I was not very fluent in Spanish. Like, I had forgotten a lot of Spanish from when I was a kid because I just stopped speaking it, when I was young. And so it was a process of, like, writing about Latin music was a process of, like, reconnecting with my heritage and, like, learning the language again, but this time as an adult so that I wasn't just like, mommy, like,
Mhm. Oh, I feel
quiero
that.
agua, like, mira el gato, like, I don't know, like, saying, like, little baby things, and then, learning how to, like, speak to other adults in Spanish. So that was something that was, like, a process that I started before I interviewed Bad Bunny, but it was just kind of funny, like, meeting him, and he spoke 0 English, and, like, we're both kind of, like, we were communicating, I, like, wrote all my questions down, but it fast forward to, like, 2025, I see him, uh, like, right after his show, and at this point, he had just, he was about to release the Happy Gilmore movie, he had been in SNL, he'd been doing sketches in English. I mean, we saw the most recent SNL. So, he hired a tutor. He was dating Kendall Jenner, who maybe helped him with his English, but if they spoke much at all. But
I know.
it was funny sitting down with him because he's like, "Hey, I speak English now," and I was like, bueno, quiero practicar contigo en español. Y he was like, he's like, no, 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 I want to practice in English. And I was like, español.
Like, I'm adamant here. I've worked
It
my
was so
butt
funny.
off to be able
Mhm.
to communicate with you here. I feel like that's something that I was genuinely curious about because of my own kind of struggle with my command of Spanish is
Mm,
like certain professional opportunities that might not be available to me because of my command of Spanish or
mm,
at least a Spanglish. So I
yeah,
love hearing that you were here interviewing the largest music superstar that there is out there right now,
Mhm.
and there's an opportunity for you to do so in a language that might not be as native to you as it is to the person you're speaking to. So, I think that's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, it's funny, it's definitely funny, like
It's funny because I think one of the big not arguments, well, argument is one of the words, but something that has come out in the aftermath of the announcement of Bad Bunny being the Super Bowl headliner next year, which makes
Mhm,
sense about global stage, global superstar,
mhm.
but is that it's pretty much seemingly going to be an all Spanish show, and so folks are like, "Whoa, what does this mean for, an American pastime that a primarily Spanish language artist has this kind of stage set for him?" What was your reaction when you found out that he actually got the spot and that he's going to be the one that folks are tuning into next year?
I think he deserves it. I feel like, it's about time. You know, he's already excelled at so many things. He's broken so many records that at this point, it wouldn't surprise me that he was tapped to perform at the Super Bowl. Um, like I think he has just like done so much with his career. He's not even just an artist anymore, like he's in movies. He's a philanthropist, he's an activist. I just think that it was really savvy for the NFL, especially because they want to connect people, in other countries with American football. They don't want American football to stay so American anymore, because that would limit their reach commercially. I'm speaking in very, commercial terms.
Mhm.
This was definitely a commercial decision on behalf of the NFL. And I think a lot of people have called into question, the fact that he is performing in the United States, given his concerns about ICE. I will say, ICE is always Homeland Security is always at the Super Bowl. Um, that is a risk that he's willing to take, and I feel like it's on the NFL to decide how they want to protect people who come to their event. It's
Mhm.
also it's a very expensive event. People come in from all over the world. It's like a lot of tourists come to the Super Bowl. So I mean, people are right to be concerned. I think, even Benito is right to be concerned no matter what.
Yeah. For anybody who's tuning in, who's curious about, because I feel like when I was growing up and I was trying to figure out if journalism was the route I wanted to take, I
Mhm.
think I wanted to be you. Like I wanted
Mhm.
to write the magazine profile. I wanted to talk to, insert whoever it was who was dazzling the entertainment space. Because you get not only access to this person, but the opportunity to write hundreds, if not thousands, of words
Mhm.
about somebody who's in a field that you care about. So is what you're doing exactly what you had always wanted to do?
Yeah, definitely. Um, it's not to say that it's like, a magical fairyland. Like writing a profile of someone is you have to go deep with them, and sometimes they don't want to go there. It's also not like you get to write completely freely about everybody. It's kind of funny seeing like the responses every time I write a big profile of somebody where they're like, well, "Why didn't they talk about this?" And I'm like, "Okay, you sit in front of like someone with like 2 million Instagram followers and try
No
asking them about their
kidding.
sex lives. Like, you think they're gonna volunteer, like, just
Mhm.
anything, knowing that I'm writing this for, like, the cover of a widely circulated magazine, or they'll be like, "Oh, why did they say this? Why did they say that?" And it's like, because it's my job to observe people in, their habitat, and you don't get access to it, and I do. So,
Mhm.
I'm pretty qualified. That's why they send me in there. It's because
Yeah,
I'm qualified to make those observations. Um, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are just salty that they're not in those rooms, and
I believe that. feel like most folks who get into this business are a little unsure of what their role is, whether it's friend or observer.
Yes.
And like just the notion of parasocial relationships in the work that we do, and
Mhm.
like these aren't your friends. These are people who legit are media trained to make it seem like they're your friend.
Like, I think a common misconception is that me and, like, Bad Bunny are friends, for example, and I know that there's, like, a certain I don't know. I know that there is, like, a glamour to, like, my stories about him because he lives a really glamorous life, and he is so, like, he's a really good artist. He's really good at representing himself and representing Puerto Rico and world building around these things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that this is where media literacy, uh, as well as actual literacy,
No
are
kidding.
becoming kind of like they're in decline. They're both in decline. And so when I think of people, when people say to me, and sometimes they're joking, but it's like I also have people genuinely believe that I'm besties with the people that I interview, or that if I don't write anything scathing and negative about somebody, it must be because I want to be their friend.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I write goes through an editor, by the way.
That it's not just you kind of pontificating about, oh, this person's doing this and that and they're at the top of their game. Like there's
Yeah,
another human, if not more than one human, who's going through everything you've written to not only fact check and do all the sort of research components of it, but to
yeah.
ensure that it upholds the standards of whatever publication you're writing for.
Mhm. Yeah, that's journalism.
Yeah, no
It has to
kidding.
be vetted, and, like, it has to but I also think that because literacy is in decline, people are not, I find that, there was a time where I could write and kind of expect people to, like, read between the lines in certain situations or, like, understand, like, subtext.
Mm-hmm.
Or pick up on, like, a joke or something, and that oh boy, that is not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Everything I've found that when I write, I have to be so much more literal than I used to be.
My question about the state of music criticism comes from the latest release, Taylor Swift's latest album release. There was a publication that gave her a perfect score when also on my timeline there was many folks who had a lot of genuine critiques about the album and kind of where it places in her discography.
Mhm.
But it started this conversation of, all right, is this an actual review where somebody put a lot of thought and effort into putting this together? Or is this designed to make an artist that is at the top of her game continue being at the top of her game? And nobody wants to make enemies. Nobody wants to stop access from being had. Do you sort of, from your perspective in this industry, do you see that tilt happening where folks are kind of jeopardizing their journalistic experience in order to make subjects happy?
I have to wonder I don't think it's so much about the subjects anymore. I think it's about their fans, you
Mm.
know?
Mhm.
I just to be very candid about it, I think it's the fans, and it's a dangerous thing. It's not a good thing. I think that, the development of fandom and like stan culture has been really detrimental to music journalism. Khalifa Saneh recently wrote a story about like the decline of music criticism and didn't get into fandom being like this toxic element to music
Yeah.
coverage in general. Like it's a toxic element in music culture. And I think that um, I can't speak for like anyone at Rolling Stone because I don't work there anymore, but it is clear that behind the scenes, I think it's a publication that has been so friendly to her over the years. Um, it's not lost on me, I guess, the significance of like championing a woman as successful as she is. But at the same time, that I think the coverage around the life of a showgirl, her latest album, definitely raised my eyebrow. Like I was
You're
like,
like,
what?
this
I
is
mean,
a little
just the
peculiar.
yeah, and then like the promotion of uh all how many different versions, like she released like 5 different versions of her album cover, all these like there were multiple physical editions of the album. It just felt like um just hyper capitalistic. And so, the fact that they were basically running like an ad on the front page with this like glowing 5-star review of her record, like, come on now.
Hmm.
Seeing that really bummed me out. But it's not really up to one person. It's a whole team of people, behind that decision. And also, I don't think that speaks for like the magazine as a whole. I think that, there are other critics who might have given a more like critical review.
Yeah.
Um, they just were not the ones who were assigned that review. Um, what's really sad is that I don't think we can be like 100% real in our album reviews anymore. I started out writing album reviews in high school. In like my high school newspaper, and then I was a blogger for a long time, and I my first stories for Rolling Stone, they were all album reviews. And yeah, I panned albums before. I was like, what is this hunk of junk? Uh
Hashtag hunk of junk.
junk.
Because you're in the scene, because you've had a chance to really immerse yourself in music, who are some people that we should be listening to that, like, whether everybody knows them, just like if you know kind of vibe, who are the people that you're really excited by?
I want to shout out Maria Zardoya of the Marias. She just released a solo record under the name Not for Radio, and it is
That's cool.
incredible. If you like Beach House, if you like um, Radiohead, Broadcast, like even I'm thinking, people uh, who like 90s electronica alternative, like this is an amazing record. That it's definitely like on par with like some of the records by some of the bands that I mentioned. It's like a gothic romance with this like cool um chamber pop feel. This like, yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, I like that.
I mean, yeah, I have to shout out my like alt Latinas when I can. Another one is Ella Minus. She's Colombian. She's a Colombian electronic artist who is now Latin Grammy nominated.
Hell yeah.
She put out a really good record earlier this year called Dia. There's also an artist from Chile. Her name is Rubio. She's another. I mean, I don't know. I really like weird electronic music. Like I listen to a little bit of everything, but I think the music I'm most partial to, it's like anything derived from like punk, post punk, um, and electronic pop. It's pop vocals with like cool industrial like electronic beats. That's kind of my catnip.
Okay.
Real, but yeah, like anything indie like that, I'm really interested in. But yeah, Rubio is someone who is releasing a record, and very very soon. Just performed on Tiny Desk. It was fantastic. Um, but yeah, those are some artists that I'm really into right now.
Okay. I feel like I have to, because we talked a little bit about the brujeria aspect of your background. You were talking about like the
Yeah.
alt goth Latina vibes. Um, what are your, we've got a few months left of the year. Where are you putting your energy towards?
I am working on a book proposal, and my plan is to go abroad for like 2 to 3 weeks this winter and focus on writing a book.
Hell yeah. Good
Yeah,
for you. That's
so
exciting.
you heard it first.
Make note, all the alarms. Brr, brr, brr.
Yeah, yeah. I
This is
don't
where
know
we find out.
when I'm going abroad just yet, or, like, I'm not telling anyone where I'm going just yet. You'll just find out on Instagram next year.
Which is fine, which is fine.
I wanna be
Um,
like Mariah Carey, like the elusive chanteuse.
and then when she arrives, when she's gone, was she ever here?
Who
Did
knows?
you did we miss it? I think we might have. So to sort of end and to bring our wonderful conversation to a close, since we did order takeout, we will have some leftovers. What is something from our conversation today that you think you're going to hold on to that you want to like put away and nosh on later?
I think that there is a lot to be, like, mined from the experience of being a music critic in this day and age. Like, I think there's more that I do wanna write about that experience. Um, it's it's interesting, there is actually a survey that, there's a study being done about music critics of color, actually, and I think the results will come out next year. Um, but I participated in the survey and I was, like, ranting, and I was like, "Oh my god, I actually haven't had anyone ask me about this," and I've been holding I mean, me and the other music journalists, like, we gossip, of course, or we
Yeah.
we, of course, like, nerd out about music, but it talking about the actual experience of, like, breaking into music criticism in the United States, as like people of color, it's a very specific experience, like we tend to get a lot of harassment in comparison to like our white counterparts. We get paid less than our white and especially male counterparts. Um, and so, like publicists will try to walk all over us because they know that our
Mhm.
positions are very precarious. So, dealing with all of these issues, like, in conversation with you, I'm like, I really need to, and then doing this survey, I'm like, I really got to write about this. So thank you for,
Oh,
opening
yeah.
that portal with me.
Yeah, of course. I feel like it's only till you talk with somebody who kind of like tangentially gets it,
Yeah.
where certain things are awakened in your brain. You think, oh yeah, I was thinking about this, or I did have feelings about this, or I needed to express this in a different, genuine way that I haven't had a chance to before.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm glad that we could do that on the show. I do want to let folks know how can they find you online, especially if once this elusive chanteuse era comes into play and we're trying to see like, did Susie go somewhere? How
Yeah.
can folks either read your work or find you online?
I think just look me up on Google. You'll find all my author pages, but I'm also pretty active on Instagram. I'm on it too much, but, every once in a while, like, I don't know, post really silly stories or I post my work there a lot. I find that that's how people engage with me the most. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, my handle on Instagram is Brujacore, because that was a genre that me and my band created in the
I
2010s when
love
I was in
that.
a band. Our whole thing was like being like half the band was Latinas and we were part of like this queer punk scene in Brooklyn. And so when I write about when I critique albums, I'm not talking out of my butt. I'm like actually someone
Yeah,
who
you're
is
like,
in
I was
music.
on stage, I performed. I know
I
how the
went on
music world
tour.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I know
That's
what
so
that's
cool.
like, and so anyway, I come from a very informed place, but yeah, like, Brujacore comes from, uh, being in, like, the punk scene and or being, like, a Latina in the punk scene and being, like, witchy and, infusing that into my music.
For those of you who didn't get a chance to watch this conversation, you can go to YouTube and you can check us out, or you can go to the Cocina website, which is wearecocina.com. You will see that Suzy and I took photos of our meals. So what Suzy was able to order her hummus and egg plate, and for me, my Señor Sisig bowl here in San Francisco. So be sure to go to the website, wearecocina.com, and to follow us on all of our socials, which is also We Are Cocina. But Suzy, this was fantastic. I hope you and I can eat over another meal sometime soon. If not, go see a Brujacore band and like jam out and just do our thing. So
Yeah, hit me up
thank
if you're ever
you.
in LA.
Yay!
Thanks, Jorge.
Thank you. Takeout and Talk is a Cocina and Mecenas media production. It's hosted and produced by me, Jorge Olivares. Special thanks to Mecenas Chief Creative Officer, Sarah North, and its Head of O&O and Audience Development, Laura Del Progetto. For more Takeout and Talk, visit our YouTube page or wearecocina.com.